In the quiet heart of Wichita, Kansas, where neighborhoods were calm and families trusted their neighbors, an invisible monster lived among them. He mowed his lawn, attended church, raised his children, and hid an unspeakable darkness behind a polite smile. His name was Dennis Rader, but to the world he would forever be known by the name he gave himself: BTK, bind, torture, kill. For more than 3 decades, Rader eluded capture, taunting police and journalists with cryptic messages, letters, and clues. He was a killer obsessed not only with power over his victims, but with control over the very people hunting him. BTK wasn't just a murderer. He was a narcissist who wanted to be remembered. The beginning of the nightmare. It started on January 15, 1974, an ordinary winter morning that would change Wichita forever. The Otero family, Joseph and Julie, and their 2 children, Joseph Jr. and Josephine, went about their routine like any other day. But that morning, a stranger was watching their home. Dennis Rader, then a 28-year-old Air Force veteran working as an ADT security installer, had been stalking them. He knew their patterns, their schedules, their vulnerabilities. To Rader, this was what he called a project, his twisted word for victims he selected after careful study. He broke into the Otero home armed with a gun and ropes. He lied, saying he was a fugitive who only needed money and a car. But soon, his real intent unfolded. One by one, he bound, tortured, and killed the entire family, starting with the parents and ending with 11-year-old Josephine, who he hanged in the basement. When he left, he took personal items, trophies, to relive the killings later. It wasn't just murder. It was domination. It was ritual. It was the birth of BTK. The city in panic. The Otero murders sent shockwaves through Wichita. The community couldn't comprehend how an entire family could be wiped out so brutally in their own home. Police had no leads. There were no witnesses, no fingerprints that matched, and no clear motive. Months turned into years. The case grew cold. Then, in 1977, BTK struck again, this time killing Shirley Vian and later Nancy Fox. He would often wait in the victim's home, ambush them, tie them up, and strangle them, fulfilling his own sadistic fantasies. But what made BTK different was his craving for attention. After killing Nancy Fox, he couldn't resist revealing himself. He mailed a letter to the local television station, describing in detail how he had murdered her. He even coined his nickname, BTK, standing for bind, torture, kill. That letter was chilling not only for its content, but for its tone. It read like a man proud of his work, analyzing himself like an artist describing his masterpiece. "It's hard to control myself," he wrote. "You call me psychotic, but I'm not crazy. I just feel this need to kill." Wichita was paralyzed by fear. Doors were double-locked. Women slept with knives by their beds. Everyone suspected everyone else, and BTK enjoyed every moment of it. The mind of a predator. Dennis Rader wasn't some deranged drifter. He was the man next door. Married, father of 2, respected church member, and even the president of his congregation. Outwardly, he was disciplined and orderly. Inwardly, he was a volcano of perversion and control. From a young age, Rader had fantasized about bondage, control, and power over women. He would spy on neighbors, kill small animals, and act out violent fantasies in private. These fantasies grew more elaborate over time until he couldn't contain them anymore. When he joined the Air Force, he learned about procedure and precision, skills he would later apply to his crimes. He documented everything: sketches, photos, notes, and even detailed logs of his projects. His victims were numbered and categorized. It was an obsession of both violence and record-keeping, a serial killer's version of an office file. But what truly defined BTK was his ego. He needed acknowledgement. Killing wasn't enough. He wanted people to know there was a genius behind the horror, that he was in control of not just life and death, but the narrative itself. Why? Playing games? With the police, BTK's reign of terror spanned decades, and one of the most unsettling aspects was his ongoing communication with the media and law enforcement. He saw them as partners in his twisted game. He would send typewritten letters, poems, and even crime scene maps to the police. Each one dripped with arrogance and mockery. He often compared himself to other infamous killers like Jack the Ripper and Son of Sam. In one letter, he wrote, "How many do I have to kill before I get a name in the paper?" He signed off with his moniker, BTK, like an artist signing a painting. The police created a psychological profile of a man who was intelligent, methodical, and attention-seeking, someone who craved notoriety. But despite the clues, technology at the time wasn't advanced enough to trace him. Every taunting letter led investigators deeper into confusion. Over time, BTK disappeared. For nearly 2 decades, he went silent. The killings stopped. Wichita exhaled. Many assumed he had died or moved away. But BTK was simply waiting, living his double life, watching the world forget him. The dormant years. In his years of silence, Rader built a career and a reputation. He became a compliance officer for Park City, where residents nicknamed him Little Hitler for his strict enforcement of rules. He wrote tickets for minor violations, scolded neighbors for grass length, and even measured dog leash lengths. It was as if his need for control had found a socially acceptable outlet. At home, he was the model citizen, husband, father, scout leader, church council president. He photographed his family vacations, attended sermons, and even helped elderly neighbors. Yet beneath that mask of normalcy, his fantasies never stopped. He created elaborate self-bondage scenes, dressing in women's clothing, tying himself up, and taking photographs. He documented everything meticulously, the same way he had documented his crimes. This dual life, the devoted father and the sadistic killer, became his greatest thrill. He felt invincible, convinced he had outsmarted the world. The return of BTK. Then, in 2004, Wichita was shocked again. After years of silence, BTK returned. It began when the local newspaper published an article marking the 30th anniversary of the Otero murders. The article speculated that BTK was either dead or imprisoned. To Rader, that was an insult, a challenge. He sent a letter to the paper claiming responsibility for several unsolved murders. Inside was a photocopy of a victim's driver's license and photographs only the killer could have taken. BTK was back, older but just as arrogant. Over the next year, he resumed his cat-and-mouse game. He mailed packages, left cereal boxes containing disturbing notes in random locations, and even sent a doll wrapped in ropes to symbolize one of his victims. He reveled in the chaos he could still create. But this time, he made a mistake. The fatal floppy disk. In early 2005, Rader contacted police through a letter and asked a bizarre question. Could a floppy disk he sent be traced to him? The police, eager to keep him communicating, replied through the newspaper, assuring him it would be safe. BTK sent a floppy disk containing a message. The disk's metadata revealed it was last edited by someone named Dennis at Christ Lutheran Church, and the church's president was none other than Dennis Rader. It was over. Investigators quickly matched the DNA from Rader's daughter's medical records to evidence from the crime scenes. A perfect match. After 31 years, BTK had finally been unmasked, not by brilliant police work, but by his own arrogance and hunger for attention. The arrest. On February 25, 2005, Dennis Rader was pulled over while driving his black Jeep Cherokee. When officers confronted him, he seemed calm, almost relieved. His first words were chilling. "Why now?" At the station, Rader confessed with unsettling composure. He described every murder in detail, the planning, the torture, the aftermath. There was no remorse, only pride. He spoke as if recounting old achievements, correcting investigators when they got details wrong. During questioning, he explained his need for control. When you bind someone, you have the ultimate power. They're yours. It wasn't rage or revenge, it was ritualistic domination. He confessed to 10 murders between 1974 and 1991, all committed in Wichita and surrounding areas. He referred to his victims by his own coded project names, Project Fox, Project Vian, Project Otero, The Trial of a Monster. In court, Rader waived his right to a jury trial and entered a guilty plea. His confession was a performance, calculated, clinical, and horrifyingly casual. He described each killing step by step, sometimes chuckling at his own memories. The courtroom sat frozen as he recounted how he strangled 11-year-old Josephine Otero and later revisited crime scenes to relive the moment. He even brought up how he would fantasize about his victims after their deaths, drawing them, writing about them, and imagining new ways to recreate those moments. His words weren't just confessions, they were trophies of a mind without empathy, a reminder that monsters sometimes wear ordinary faces,